Welcome back everyone. Today is going to be a longer video than usual because I am going to be going over 3 different arcs in this review. And our first main characters besides Zatch and Kyo are going to be making their first appearance, so I will have a good amount to talk about with them. So remember to subscribe if you like this kind of content and like the video, it helps out a lot. Now let's begin. We begin with Zatch bringing home a fish he caught to help Kyo recover from a fever, but when he arrives, there's something that looks different about him. Even though Zatch is young, I am surprised he actually got tricked by this, with Kyo having the same reaction as me. Then Mizuno comes in and he thinks she will help, but then this fake Kyo compliments her and she falls for it as well.
I'm surrounded by idiots.
Kyo finally gets off the ceiling and starts shaming both of them for not realizing this guy was a fake, as he should, and hits him, making him lose his transformation. He then tells them that his name is Canchome, and him and his book owner Folgore came from Italy to fight Zatch. Folgore is not here right now because, in Canchome's words, he is making friends with the Japanese girls. They wait for him for 2 hours and he finally arrives. Kyo tries to ask him some questions, but Folgore just ignores him and gives him his CD.
Hey, you guys mind if I put in my mixtape?
Getting tired of his shenanigans, Kyo finally attacks him, but Canchome seems to keep resurrecting him with his Iron Man Folgore theme, until it actually starts getting dangerous for him. Folgore does start to take the battle more seriously and casts a spell to transform Canchome into a cannon. He tells them to give up now, but this just makes Kyo actually take this seriously, and the smile on his face starts to disappear. He begs Kyo to wait, but he gets blasted by them anyway. They explain that all of this was for show, but Canchome starts to resolve himself to fight back, and a new spell appears in their spell book. But Kyo lets them leave peacefully, but Canchome tells Folgore that he wants to fight and that he wants to be strong like him. Folgore, seeing Canchome's bravery, stands with him, and he realizes that a new spell appeared, worrying Kyo now. They use their new spell, Koparuku, but it seemed like nothing happened until they noticed that Canchome just became tiny. They end up luring him into a trap with chocolate and capturing him. I love that Folgore is just standing there with them in disbelief of their new spell and how weak it is. They fortunately let them leave, and Kyo did get some info from them since Canchome said that Zatch was considered weak in the Momodo world, which would explain why they have gotten so many opponents. Then we end it with Folgore encouraging Canchome to get stronger, and him getting excited to see his fans at the airport. Next, we start off with Kyo and Zatch about to go into a battle, but then rewind to half an hour earlier. As Kyo is walking back from school with his friends, they tell him to go visit Mizuno since she did not come to school, but Kyo just brushes it off. But once he gets home, Zatch shows him a statue of her and a note saying they kidnapped her and that they are challenging them to a battle, catching us up to where we were in the beginning of the chapter. They walk into the freezer building and see their next opponents, Robnos and Ruku. And Robnos just plainly says his main motivation is torturing and tormenting Zatch for his own satisfaction. They begin the battle, and Robnos' ability type is laser based, but can't outright one-shot Kyo. They manage to get a good hit on him, but then he gets up without a scratch on him. And then when they block him, his spell somehow still hits Kyo in the back. Kyo starts to freak out, but quickly resolves himself, remembering that he is here to save Mizuno. Robnos then reveals another ability to his spell, that it can ricochet off of walls, causing it to be more unpredictable. They wonder why Kyo is still smiling throughout this whole fight, and he tells them it's because he wants to save Mizuno, And the key word here is that he tries to remember all of the good times with her and literally can't.
This nigga is trash.
Kyo, showing his high intelligence again, is able to read the trajectories of the lasers so they won't get hit. But somehow, Zatch gets hit anyway. But after this, Kyo finally puts it all together, realizing that there are two Momodos they are fighting. He destroys everything in the warehouse so they can't hide and casts Jikarudo to immobilize them. It finally looks like they won, but they then revealed that they had a spell that splits them up and casts it again to reunite themselves. Now being able to block Zakeru with one hand along with his basic spell now being immensely more destructive. Then on top of everything, Kyo starts to feel the effects of being in this freezing warehouse, slowing his movements down and dulling his senses. He then realizes that energy is stored in Robnos' helmet, so he stabs a metal rod into it while it's charging up and casts Zakeru to make it overload and explode, winning them the battle. Afterwards, they burn their book and find out that they never had Mizuno in the first place. And as Robnos disappears, he tells them he saw a kid that looks just like Zatch in Europe, enjoying seeing their confused faces as he fades out. Then at the end, we just see Mizuno was just at home sick this whole time. Kyo continues to think about what Robnos said while he was at school, thinking that the Zatch lookalike in Europe may be connected to why Zatch lost his memories. Since his father was the one that found him, he tries calling, but his dad went on a long trip, so he can't get into contact with him. After that, we get to see what Zatch does all day while Kyo is at school, and we get to see a small cameo from Ivy, with Zatch taking care of the plant. Zatch ended up losing his lunch while getting chased, but he meets an old woman named Granny Anan, who shares her food with him, and to thank her, he will help her search for her son's fiancé in town. They go to the police, but they can't help since she does not know her last name. But Zatch has an idea to go to her son's house so he could get her scent and sniff her out. They finally find her, and now Zatch is worried because she looks exactly like the type of woman Anan said she wouldn't like. But once they both catch up to her, Anan simply introduces herself and gives her the ring that she was married with it all ending on a happy note of Zatch learning and growing more and more. We cut to another day with Kyo in class wondering when the fourth spell will appear. He gets one of his tests back and he got a 70% on it, him later finding out that the question he couldn't answer was worth 30% and was covered on a day he was out with injuries. The teacher then admitting that he just wanted to take Kyo down a peg. His friends give him their notes for the next test, but their notes are nonsense. So he asks the second smartest kid, Kaneko, and he refuses because he likes being number one for once. So he is forced to beg the rest of the class for their notes, with his friends reflecting on how much he has grown as a person, and just physically, since one of his friends, Yamanaka, is a baseball player and Kyo nearly matched him in strength. Once they get the test, Toyama put a non-answerable question on it, so the test was called off with him getting in trouble for it. While Kyo finally gets to relax at school, the spellbook starts glowing, announcing that there are only 70 participants left in the fight, and we get to see a few of the other characters we have met, like Braga and Sherry, who have burnt 2 books so far, along with Canchome and Folgore, who haven't burnt any yet, with Kyo and Zatch, who have burnt a whopping 6 so far, putting into perspective how many fights they have had to the average participant. So that's it for the review. Let's get into the extras. The Volume 4 cover is of Zatch walking in a red circle with the spellbook circling around it, along with a serious Kyo in the background. The back of Volume 4 has Tia dancing and singing with her Megumi doll, along with a radio player and Zatch's spellbook, with a worried Zatch face on the spine. Chapter 27 has a picture of a crying Canchome since Kyo hit him, and crying Zatch since Kyo yelled at him. We get a cover of when Megumi and Tia first met, which looks like she saved her from drowning. Chapter 29 has a simple illustration of Mizuno. Chapter 32's cover has two different Zatches walking downstairs, mirroring each other, referencing the look-alike Robnos told them about, and that Zatch is taking that statement seriously. Chapter 33 has a nice picture of Zatch riding on the shoulders of Anan. And finally, Chapter 34 has a picture of Kyo trying to pry Zatch off of him before he goes to school. So like usual, let's get the slice of life stuff out of the way first. Kyo's teacher, Toyama, is a dick with how he was acting. I could understand getting annoyed at an arrogant student, but deliberately designing a test to make their grade point average go down is going way too far. And then on top of that, making the test impossible and affecting the whole class. I could see a teacher getting a major punishment for that, or even just plain getting fired. The story with Anan was a neat 2-chapter story with some comedy and heart thrown in. I like seeing Zatch be on his own. Now, Robnos was a interesting battle to say the least, with the opponent having an environmental advantage along with the bag of tricks they had with their spells. We also now see that Jikarudo is not an all-powerful spell, with Robnos' spell to separate and join together overriding it in priority. We got to see Kyo's genius level intellect again, calculating the beam's trajectories in real time and then consistently adapting once his plans kept going wrong. We also learned why Zatch kept getting people to come fight him. It was because he was seen as a weakling in the Momodo world, so he would be easy pickings. Or, you know, that's what they believe to be the case. Of course, I will have a lot to say about Robnos when I do my character video on him and his partner, so stay tuned for when that comes out. I saved these two for last, since they are basically the most important part of these chunk of chapters, because they are our next set of main characters in the story, that being Canchome and the Iron Man Folgore. Just starting off by both of their character designs, you are not supposed to take them too seriously. With Canchome having his goofy onesie that he holds candy in, and his most striking feature being his duck bill. Then Folgore being a happy-go-lucky, tall Italian man who loves the girls and seemed to almost completely forget about his partner. It seems like Folgore doesn't really want to be in this battle, just going along with it to make Canchome happy, since he actually does have a will to fight even if it's not too great. Canchome constantly whines and is nervous, not being confident in his own strength, mainly because he has only one spell, and it just makes him transform, not being able to do any damage. He thought, since I am so weak, I should go pick on someone even weaker than me, being Zatch. But when he finally gets there, he sees how strong he has gotten, having now unlocked 3 spells. But then he is able to regain at least some confidence, since his partner Folgore basically oozes with it wherever he goes. Believing that he is truly invincible, that if he has a partner like him, even a weakling like he is can become stronger. Idolizing him like a child does to a hero, like Superman. But once they actually get into a fight, Canchome realizes that Folgore isn't invincible and that they are losing and giving up on this fight with Zatch. Not wanting to accept that someone he looked down upon could beat him, he actually gets the courage to keep fighting, finally unlocking a new spell that makes him tiny. Everyone else sees this as a downgrade, but Canchome sees this as proof of his growth, which is evident with how giddy he is using this new power. He still loses, of course, mainly because of his own mental weakness, but he and Folgore are allowed to leave. Folgore shows that he is proud of Canchome, seeing him do his own rendition of his song and seeing that this fight helped him grow. I know when I first saw these two when I was younger, I hated them. But now as an adult, I like seeing how much these two characters grow in these few chapters. We also see right after Canchome transforms back from being Kyo that he makes sure Mizuno is okay, so he can't really be that bad of a person. And if you haven't heard of Folgore's Hey Hey Let's Dance All Day / Chi Chi Wo Moge song, do yourself a favor and go search it up. It is hilarious and it is honestly pretty catchy. These were honestly a great couple of chapters and I genuinely enjoyed reading them again. I would love to know what you guys think down in the comments, because I am sure we can talk about a decent amount. If you did enjoy, just make sure to like the video and subscribe to keep up to date with all of my content. I hope to see you all again, so I will see you guys later. Bye guys.